Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome to the podcast. This is Absolutely Obscure with Josh and Rory.
I'm Josh.
I'm Rory, and this is a movie podcast where we talk about movies you've never heard of.
Is there going to be a market for that?
We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, I think, because we've been talking about this for, over a year now.
Yes.
Yeah, we finally live in the same city.
We live in the same city.
Yeah, so we can do it.
We don't have to just send each other messages on Instagram, just voice memos on Instagram.
And I finally get to see your secret movie list slowly.
My secret movie list of over 1,500 movies now that qualify for us to talk about, which, if you're wondering what that is, are basically we need some sort of metric for movies that people haven't seen.
Right.
And that basically boiled down to we want movies made after 1980, just for general cutoff.
That's good.
And they have less than 1,000 ratings on IMDb and Letterboxd. So it still covers a lot of movies.
There's so many out there. Mm-hmm. Ones that cover the greatest movies ever, right?
Greatest
over
movies
and over
ever,
again.
or the worst movies ever.
Right, exactly.
Yes, those are the two.
So, yeah, when you pitched this idea to me, I really liked the idea of talking about movies that, one, no one's heard of, and two, no one else will be talking about.
Yes, including our listeners. Including our listeners, including us after we're done this episode. We will never think of these movies again. Although, I'm looking forward to... It may not happen this week. I can't speak. We'll talk about the movie coming up. But I look forward to finding a movie that maybe a lot of people should watch.
Yeah, that's really what I'm hoping for, is if we can uncover... I'll be happy with one secret gem, you know?
One secret gem in the 300 episodes we're planning to do.
It won't be this first episode.
I don't think it's going to be this first episode.
Not to get ahead of ourselves.
And the way we decide what movies to watch is I just have this giant list. I choose 3 of them out of it, and I just give Josh 3 titles, and on vibes alone, you pick out what we'll watch.
Since this is the first episode, do we remember even what the other 2 options were?
I don't remember what the other 2 options are.
That's fine.
But this week, our first episode ever, we watched Fatal Secrets. It was directed by Meir Sharony, written by Kathy Cotter. It was released in 2009. And this had 66 ratings on Letterboxd and 397 ratings on IMDb with a score of 3.9. You did not know that when you looked.
I'm so shocked. I'm more shocked by everything that you just said. The Letterboxd one, I was 63, was it?
66.
66. That number made sense to me.
Yeah.
How many on IMDb?
397 people.
That is too much for this movie.
Is 3.9 too high?
It's way too high.
Way too high.
Way too high.
Okay, so I just need to get this out of the way, Josh. So, first movie, you knew nothing about it. How long into the first movie in our first episode does a sexual assault happen?
I can tell you this. It happens before we know either of the characters' names.
No names of our lead characters.
It is...
less than 2 minutes.
It's so jarring.
It is... I watched this movie on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I started it, and I literally had to... I went to a different street. I went to Tubi, because I'm just like, this can't be the start.
There's no way this movie starts like this. I was so shocked at how quick that they got into it.
Yes. Well, first off, so literally the first shot is these 2 people in broad daylight in a restaurant, and then 30 seconds later, it cuts to her in her house, and we're wondering, one, who is this person? Don't have a name.
This is what the most shocking thing to me is. The stuff that I will be complaining about with this movie is stuff that I didn't think I cared about in movies. I never thought, even when we dreamed this podcast up, that I'd be the one complaining about the lighting.
Yes.
And but little things like, hey, how much time has passed in between the last 2 scenes? Because you flash cut to it. It's so
and it's
crazy.
Very jarring, because they seem to be... So our 2 lead characters, one is played by Dina Meyer.
Yeah.
Who would be recognized from Starship Troopers probably best.
Yeah, that's what I have her as. Julia is her
name.
Yeah.
Yes. And the guy.
Vincent Spano.
Yeah.
I can't read my own writing. He's in nothing that I've seen.
He's in nothing.
I went to his IMDb.
He's married to the director or something. I don't know what's happening, how he got this, but he's bad in this. He's
great at playing a terrible guy.
Yeah,
terribly.
Like, he is a terrible person. As we said.
Yeah.
What happens literally within 2 minutes of this movie, and I'm just like, why out of all the movies?
Even like the way he ends the date, it's like they're on their first date, like you said.
Yes.
We don't know. They've mentioned the only thing we know is they met on a dating site,
Mm-hmm.
and she's already said, "Yeah, I deleted my dating profile," which seems like it was a question he prompted. Like, do you still have your profile up?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, we just met each other, and she says, "No, I deleted it," and he goes, like, hand claps, and he's like, "Great, date's over." They don't mention a second date. It's somehow implied.
Yes, I didn't know where we were. I had no idea what was happening, and that cuts her out. Mostly because it's, again, middle of the day. Like, 11 o'clock in the morning, they're having this date, and then he shows up at her house.
Yeah.
And again, middle of the day, I'm just like, you're two full-grown adults.
Yeah,
don't you have jobs?
Her job, in case you missed, that she was carrying a stack of books before
she's a book person. She books.
Her job is books.
Her job is books. She affords a literal mansion with these books. That's something I want to get. Her house.
Yeah. Well, Rory, you're not in the book game, so that's how you get that.
I've worked in movies. You've done like a little bit here and there. It's always fun seeing like a house that very obviously no human has ever actually lived in before. It's just a very weird thing. Like, the walls are too white. No human has stepped foot in this place before.
Man, and like, not to get back to the lighting, I'm going to try not to do this every minute of this podcast. It is lit like it. The only thing from like cinema that it reminded me of is like Blade Trinity, when they're like, hey, look at this brand new weapon that shines UV light out of it. It's so bright. There are multiple shadows on every wall because they are blasting these people from all directions.
Because they have no idea what they're doing.
It's so bad. Yeah. And yes, like you said, it only accents how white this place is. Like, it's insane.
And how massive her house is to live in by herself. I think, is she divorced?
She is divorced.
Okay.
Because here's, so we're just going to jump all over the place.
We're jumping all over the place.
Because, yes, the other thing that is established, she is divorced, like you said. She has a son who has just recently moved away to college.
Whose nickname is Rocket. If you did not notice.
I didn't catch the nickname.
When they're
messaging, yes.
Yeah,
you don't meet either of these people, the son or the husband. The son, you see them messaging late at night.
Yeah, it says Rocket. I'm just like, that is not a nickname for your child. That's a nickname for someone you're sleeping with.
I can understand why she's divorced, like back in the dating game or whatever.
Sucks.
There is no reason for her to have a kid. Like, the only reason I could come up with is because, and this is something that really bugs me about movie writing too, is when someone's like so liberal that they don't even understand that there are people who aren't liberal, so they can't write like because there's a big thing like at the end, a gun is used.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, we need an excuse that is good enough for a cop to believe why she bought a gun. And her excuse at the end is, my son moved away to college, so now I'm all alone. Which, it's like, you're in the States.
You could just have a gun.
You could just have a gun.
It's like, listen, I'm not a pro-gun fanatic, but if I could, I would absolutely have a gun.
For protection's sake, absolutely, go ahead.
Oh, for protection, for shooting things.
But you could also explain that she's divorced now for the first time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for a son character. And the other reason, unless they really wanted that scene where she rolled around in a single bed, like, was that so necessary?
You mean the multiple scenes where she rolled around in her single bed? Being, like, admittedly, she gets raped. That does happen. That is the
Yeah.
it happens. It is a bad thing, of course. We're
Mhm.
not
Right, I guess you
and-
could say that she wasn't comfortable in her own bed
Yes,
anymore.
yes.
That okay, yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
but it does not play well.
No.
It does not work as a rape revenge fantasy movie, which is things there are those movies, and this one is one, it doesn't handle the material well at all.
No.
And two, it doesn't go far enough as those other ones do, like Last House on the Left or stuff like that. It doesn't want to be a horror movie.
No. It's so tragic on so many levels. Like yes, they're dealing with actual like really raw subject matter.
Mhm.
And at a lot of in few parts like really poignant ways where it's like, you know, she goes to his office after basically to be like, I'm going to, you know, call the cops on you kind of thing, and he's like laughs in her face like ha ha ha. Good luck explaining. No one's going to believe you. It's your
That's
word
a better
versus mine.
line reading than him, by the way.
Yeah. And but yeah, he's basically like, no one's gonna believe you. It's my word versus yours, which is like the sad truth about those cases. Why so many people don't come forward.
Yes,
but it's like, and it's like, okay, how can this movie? This is like the only thing. It's like they're so up to date on and real about their facts about abuse and sexual assault and stuff, and so bad at writing anything else. They have that one scene. Yes.
That I wouldn't say is good. It just gets it right.
That's what I mean. Yes. It's not good. It's correct.
Yes.
Because the guy, we find out through his past that he was also embezzled some money from a church.
Yes. He was a pastor's son?
I think so.
It's very confusing. Like this movie, they wanted it. I don't know what they wanted.
I don't know what they wanted either.
I also just want to point out here, it's hard making movies.
Yeah.
It is. We want to not just have this be a bad movie podcast. This is just a bad movie, so it is going to be a bad movie podcast this time. But
if you make bad movies, we will point it out.
We will point it out. You don't get. We'll have a segment later where we talk about our favorite part. But I just want to take a quick overview of the plot. Basically, she gets assaulted. Then she decides to find out more about him. For some reason, she doesn't have a plan in that way. She's just like, this guy doesn't exist. Oh, she hires a private investigator.
Yes, I didn't want you to skip over this. There's a private eye on the phone, and she says, hey, have you found anything out about Scott? That's his name.
Yes.
And the private eye says, no, I haven't found. He's like a ghost. He hasn't existed. He owns a business, by the way, in the communities.
What his business is, also
like a yoga place, a wellness.
It's called Lotus Therapy. I wrote that down because I don't know what it is.
They don't get into it.
You just see women walking in and out of it, and he has an office.
Yes.
And he yells on his phone sometimes.
So my favorite part is the PI that she is hired to find out who this guy is says, I don't know his real name. You have to go find out what his real name is.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Mr. Private Investigator. Isn't that your job?
Yeah, he's not very... He's also like a child. He's like 19 years old.
I refuse to look up anything this actor was in. Like, I didn't learn his name.
I didn't either, but he looked like he was wearing clothes that were at least one size too large for him.
It was all they had in wardrobe that day, so yeah.
He was sitting in his dad's office being like, I'm the private investigator today.
Nope, sorry, you do the case.
She does a better job.
She takes the private investigators.
She breaks into his house with the...
She first goes and scopes it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the longest, most boring...
Okay, everyone who's seen a movie knows, like, you're tailing someone.
You're tailing someone.
A couple car lengths back, maybe over a little bit. No, not this one. Directly behind for the longest period.
4 or 5 minutes of screen time. That's not an exaggeration.
No.
She literally just follows him
everywhere, and they're the only two cars on the road. At like, I like to think I would be like, someone is following me. They've made every single turn.
I would absolutely notice that. Are you kidding me? There's no other cars here. We live in an empty Los Angeles, and there's the one other car following me.
Oh man! And then my favorite part. I know you maybe know more about this, but because sometimes rain doesn't show up as much on film, right? It's not as prominent.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like it's raining that much. You can tell it's a little wet out. They both have the wipers going at full blast.
I did not.
It was awesome. Yeah. I loved it.
Oh. So yeah, she scopes out the house. Then she breaks into it with the help of her one friend. She has two friends.
Yes, her friends are Charlene and Rebecca.
Rebecca is played by Lea Thompson.
Lea Thompson, yeah.
She is so horny in this movie. It is gross and weird.
The level of horny where her friends openly know about her affair that she's having on her husband, affairs. And they are like, they do not. She tells them, "Hey, my husband found out about my affair," and they react like, "Oh yeah, cool, yeah." Like that. It is old news that this lady is getting on the side.
The exact line. I wrote down the line that she used.
I want to know if this is the same line that I have written down.
When she found out that her husband.
Yes.
I was. How did my husband find out? I was retrieving my cell phone messages on speakerphone, and he was in the hallway.
Who has ever used that lingo?
That is the most difficult sentence a human could write.
I can't believe she got through it.
Props to Lea Thompson.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Isn't there a time when you step in as an actor and be like, I'm not saying this because this is awful.
I'm not saying this, and then you check it and just like, the check cleared. I'm gonna say it.
But yeah, it was like, it reminded me of like, I don't know. I know famously like Troll 2 was like written in Spanish, right? And then translated directly to English, and they were like, no, say it how this came out. Like, that's who uses cellular telephone and retrieve, like, oh my god, it's so bad.
And I get that was 2009, but I don't know, there was been cell phones for a while.
Yeah, well, whoever wrote that line didn't own one.
No, never once.
Or know how to use a voicemail on, like, no, it was so bad. That was the line of the movie for me as well.
Yes. I will say Lea Thompson's horniness will come up later in this conversation. In possibly the grossest moment of this movie.
Yeah, it saves the day.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. So she breaks into his house with the help of her other friend. What's the other friend? Charlene, who's fine in this movie.
Yeah. I think the only movie that I know her from is The Big Hit.
Yes.
Yeah, she plays like Mark Wahlberg's girlfriend.
Excellent.
Not his wife, his girlfriend.
They break into his house wearing high heels.
Yes. Bring your clunkiest, heeliest shoe you got.
The only shoes they apparently own. They find his secret stash of money
and a cross.
Yes.
Of a necklace of some sort.
Yeah. And they find it, of course,
my cross has my full name on it as well.
Yes. So yeah.
That
your special cross. Joshua Harkness Fleming. Yeah. And his social insurance number is
on the other side.
On the other side, yeah.
Yeah.
And then from the cross, she goes to his hometown or looks up his name.
Yeah. They look up the name and they're like, oh, it must be. What about this one who's involved in a sex scandal where they disappeared with the church's money? It's got to be him.
It's got to be him.
No pictures in the article, by the way.
And also, isn't it? Do you have his actual name written down?
William Wilkins, something like that.
Yes, a name that if you Google William Wilkins, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get the person you're looking for.
I think not. Don't make me argue on behalf of this movie, please. But I think they bring up that there are a lot in the search result.
Okay. Good for you, movie. You got two right. You got two things right.
And so she goes to the place. I don't even remember where it is anymore. Yes. Goes to the chapel.
Chapel.
Whatever.
Meets Ed Begley Jr.
Yes. Was very happy to see him in a movie.
Yes. It's always nice when you get a bite of the bag. And
she doesn't even ghost. She like flies. They do a whole montage where she gets on a plane, assumedly rents a car, drives to this church.
Somebody snuck their cell phone onto a plane and filmed out the window
with the intention to like get information. Clearly, you would think that she could I don't know, pretend to go undercover a little bit. Say like, hey, I'm thinking of joining the church, which I think she maybe says.
Yes, she does.
She
yes.
sees the photo of the guy on the wall
Mm-hmm.
and immediately is like, hey, what's that guy's name? I think I know him, and he's a bad man. It's like her covers dropped instantly, and he's immediately like, get out of here.
And I do like how is it a commentary that the priest is also a bad man?
Maybe. I would say yes, only because like there are a lot of things in this movie that whoever wrote this movie or directed it, they have a problem with certain types of people.
Meir Sharony was our director, who I did look up on Twitter. She has not tweeted since 2013. She did not tweet once about this movie.
Nice. They have certain people that they don't trust, and they portrayed them as such in the movie. And yes, religious people are very much painted with that brush.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah,
in that...
sure. Like, it cover up scandal. Like, I mean, I saw Spotlight.
Yes. I guess that happened.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't even like, this guy wasn't even covering up. He was basically like, oh, I know he did it, and I'm still protecting him. It's like, whoa.
He did it, and I believe him. I mean, this movie is not one for subtlety.
No. And so, since we're on Ed Begley Jr., do you want to finish the plot?
No.
So, because what I noted about the characters are, like, they're not characters. They are to serve a purpose in this scene right now. Everybody's motivation constantly changes. Like, not even scene to scene. It's, like, moment to moment. And, like, Ed Begley Jr. is the only one that I liked, where he's like, hey, I'm a nice preacher man, and I'm welcoming you to the community. And he's like immediately like, get out of here, girly. Like,
he does say girly.
He does say girly.
To Dina Meyer.
Yes. And like that was the only one that I was like, oh, that was a good read from Ed Begley Jr.
So after she gets kicked out, she talks to the mother of the girl that he
assaulted,
had previously assaulted.
And killed herself.
Yes. Yes, this movie really wants to talk about heavy subjects in the worst ways possible.
And, like, because this is the other example, same side of the conversation we were having earlier. Like, the mom's like, no one believed her. Yes. She was a pariah, and she took her own life because of it. It's like, this happens. It's very sad. And it's like...
I wish this movie treated it well. I wish this movie took it seriously.
And then, so one of my favorite jarring moments, too, happens in this scene where the mom is explaining it. Because what is and this is an example of their distrust of like religious people is she says, the mom while she's crying, she says, God ain't dead, but surely he's asleep. And it, without kicking to the next scene, immediately kicks into like like upbeat music because she's starting her plan, I guess, of revenge. But it's like, you couldn't wait till you got to the car to kick in this. It's like this lady is crying about her daughter who has committed suicide, and they're like, yeah, hit the guitar riff.
and now the movie takes a drastic shift.
Yes.
And it feels like they wrote the revenge movie. It feels like they wrote the last half of this movie, and they were like,
didn't know how to get there.
Not long enough to be a movie. So we need 5 minutes of driving, and then this weird non-existent plot that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, because they tase him outside his place.
The tasing is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. They come up behind him. He's screaming into his phone. It's the middle of the night. He's screaming into his phone about how his waterfall needs to be ready by the next morning, basically.
Yeah, which we also did get a peek at, that this is a big deal because when they broke in, the only reason they were able to make an escape was because the landscaper had showed up.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, big deal.
So the script is working. The script did a good job. And they tase him in the middle of the back.
Yeah,
and he collapses, and then. And he doesn't like do a tase, like when you tase someone, you like move a little bit. Nope. He just falls. He just drops.
Sack of potatoes.
And then they tase him again in the neck while he's on the ground. And he wakes up and he's
duct taped to a chair.
Duct taped to a chair in
his garage.
His garage, yes. And it's our three friends.
Yeah.
Wearing
masks. He also collects masks.
Yes.
And so they put on said masks to disguise themselves.
Because it's meant to be kind of creepy.
Yes.
And it doesn't work at all.
And I guess their plan is to tape him confessing
Yes.
to his crimes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're implying that they're going to murder him, but they're not actually. They don't want to murder
They
someone.
don't want to murder him.
Which he sees through and
Yes,
immediately calls their bluff. And he's like, fucking do it then. And it was like, and they fold. They're like, oh, we can't do this.
Oh, he got us.
And so they kind of go and pep talk in the kitchen.
Yes. Well, so first they are threatening him with a gun.
Yes, that's right.
And then...
Oh, yeah, she comes back with the knife.
She comes back with the knife and is like, ooh, I'm going to stab you with the fakest looking knife you've ever seen in your life. Like, this thing is more plastic than, like, a Coke bottle. And so that's why he's not scared.
She taps him in the leg with it.
Yes.
Like a prick, like a needle prick.
Mm-hmm.
And does he immediately fold now, too? Like, he's like... Or is it after she also kind of nicks his neck?
Nicks his neck.
Right.
Yes.
She nicks him twice with the giant knife,
Mm-hmm.
and he's immediately like, fine, I'll do it. Put the camera back up. I'm going to confess to this murder.
Now I believe you. I didn't think you'd kill me with a gun, but with a knife, I mean,
oh, man.
absolutely you're going to do that.
Yeah.
The much more personal way
Right.
and dangerous way to kill someone. And he confesses.
Yeah.
And then they go back into the kitchen because they're kind of happy that they got it.
And meanwhile, also a screw has been loose on the back of the chair.
Yes.
And he's been slowly sawing the duct tape.
As one does. Every
yeah.
chair that
Yeah.
anyone has ever been duct taped to.
Yeah. There's a sharp edge somewhere on that chair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've never had a sharp edge on a chair I've sat in.
Can say with most confidence, probably not.
Probably not. These chairs are pretty soft.
And he grabs a hold of
The gun.
yeah, yes, yeah, and Charlene,
Yes.
and then immediately starts threatening them.
Mm-hmm.
Take off the masks, and he's like, "Oh, I recognize you." Which my favorite thing is he didn't see them in this movie.
I was so confused by that. I legitimately thought about rewatching this movie. I couldn't do it.
No,
Just to see.
I actually did watch it twice. I watched it once and then did a note-taking session.
Yes.
And so I'll get into it after. But yes, immediately recognizes them despite being the first time in the movie that he's seen them. And wrestles with her with the gun, right?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
So he's threatening them with the gun. This is
yes.
This is the worst part of the movie. The creepiest part of the movie where he is going to assault them
that's right.
and kill them.
Yeah.
And he's demanding that Dina Meyer undress.
Strip, yeah.
And then Lea Thompson starts stripping on her own.
She's like, no, you want me first.
Start with me first. And
unzips her hoodie.
And he fully goes like, ugh.
This is my favorite part about this situation is that, like we said, they have a gun to his face earlier, and he's like, yeah, go ahead and murder me. I don't even care.
Yeah.
So cool under pressure, like, doesn't care. This girl unzips her hoodie, and he's like, whoa. Immediately.
Buzzing. It is like he acts like he does the full wolf pound.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, man.
And, like, just his jaw literally drops, and then Dina Meyer tackles him.
All right, he elbows him in the gut.
Yes.
They start wrestling for the gun. It goes off in his stomach.
Yes.
And he's now on the ground. Back to cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
Hey, call 911, please. Like,
call 911. I'm going to get you all arrested.
And then, so Dina Meyer and Charlene are arguing about what they should do next.
Mm-hmm. And then Lea Thompson just
Rebecca
goes and
shoots him in the heart or whatever.
Just shoots him like twice. Just boom, boom. Kills him right away.
Oh, so this is my favorite part. Maybe you're misremembering a little bit.
Okay.
So Rebecca, and this is back to the characters making no sense.
Yeah.
Rebecca shoots him,
mm-hmm.
and both of them are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he did it." And she's like, "He saw our faces. We have no choice. Like, what are we gonna do?" Now all of a sudden, Julia's on board, grabs the gun, boom, shoots him in the head.
Yes. Yeah.
Rebecca, who has just shot him, is like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Why are you so shocked?
You weren't supposed to kill him. I killed him. And then they take the body, they bury it, I assume, under the waterfall.
Yes.
Where the waterfall is going to be.
Just so you know, if
Yes.
you ever get murdered, the
Yeah.
cops apparently don't check your backyard for the body.
They don't check your backyard. They don't check your garage to see if there was blood there or any sign of a struggle.
Oh my god. And it ends with Ernie Hudson.
Yes, a surprise Ernie Hudson.
Yes.
Lots of surprise.
Yeah,
Lots of people
one scene actors
were available for one day and owed someone a favor.
And he is questioning Dina Meyer about, because they knew they went on the date. They had the tracking from the dating sites.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, it was a great date. And we just never went on another one. And then, so this is, so back to them being like, how he recognized the two other ladies.
Yes.
Because in her excuse, she says, oh, you know what? He actually ran into me and my friends at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, the cop's like, oh, well, okay, well, I'll probably have to talk to them too, just so you know. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And shrugs off that she, like, the cop, like, walks away and she's like, don't regret a thing I did. Yeah. And then it ends with all of them really sad that they murdered rapists.
Absolutely. It ends on such a downer note.
I was so sad. It's like, why are you upset right now?
They were so happy, and then they literally crawl into bed and just makes
she has another
sad faces.
She scares herself awake, which she only did at the start when she was like reliving her sexual assault.
Yes.
But what is happening, right? Why is this the ending of this movie?
I mean, I guess it's just another serious subject that they just want to cram in there. They really want this to be a moral movie, I feel. They want it to be like, oh, we're not the bad guys. We hurt the bad guys, but we're too good so we're not going to feel good about it, kind of thing.
Except for the two moments where they all of a sudden like get this. They just shoot him.
Yes.
Cold-blooded. They don't care anymore for those split seconds, and that's it. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's so all over the place. And, like, so this is what I was going to say. So I watched, you didn't watch any trailers for it at all? Or did you before you watched it?
Not before I watched it. I have seen the trailer.
So there is a scene in the restaurant where they are having one of their meetings.
Yeah.
And he comes and walks up to the table.
Yes.
So there was a cut scene somewhere where he met both of them at the table.
They could cut that scene, but they couldn't cut the driving.
And
the 4 minutes
and it also laid into the finish where they're like, where it's like, hey, I know you. It's like, no, you don't. I've watched this whole crappy movie twice. You have not met her yet. Oh man, it is so bad. And yeah, like, so it's just like, Ernie Hudson basically is like, I noticed you bought a gun recently. Any reason? And she's like, oh, my son moved away.
Yeah.
It's like, you could be like, I wanted a gun. And he'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And then he also asked her about the dating app.
The dating website.
I did like that.
How's that online dating thing? And she's like, fantastic. Even though she was fucking sexually assaulted by the guy. But, oh.
And, like, I get that she didn't want to say that.
Yeah, that makes
but
sense.
At the same time, it's just like, what are you trying to say, movie?
It was that's the thing, is it doesn't even know what it's trying to say. It was like they made every scene on a whim. Like,
yes.
Yeah, like, hey, I don't know, be a little, be scared that you might have to kill him, and then just kill him, and then also be shocked that she killed him.
And then be happy that he killed him,
right.
And then be very sad that you killed him.
Yeah, because they all, like, hug after it's over.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh.
So I do have some questions.
Okay, perfect.
Well, one question specifically. What is the fatal secret? That, like,
they fatally killed a man.
Yes.
That is the secret.
I mean, that's the secret by the end, I guess. I guess in the end, we all learned our fatal secret today. What does Charlene do? Because
she teaches people Tai Chi in a backyard.
In a backyard, and she affords a mansion on that.
And she has a really old dog that they dedicated the movie to.
Oh, they did dedicate the movie to it.
Yeah.
And we've been tearing it apart. We're monsters.
This dog deserved better than this movie, let me tell you. This was spit in the dog's face.
That is true. Okay, so we did want to have one segment called Bright Spots. where we talk about our favorite thing in the movie. What is it? Do you want me to go first?
Please, if you have a favorite.
So I do think Dina Meyer does well in this. She's doing as best as she can.
Yeah, that's another weird thing. And not to say, because I know it is a thing where girls, after this happens, they might not tell everyone. I'm not saying you have to, especially with the fact that not everyone goes to jail over them. It makes sense, but we've clearly established that these friends are close. Like, they know about the one lady's affair and don't care, don't judge her about it. And like, why is she not confiding in her best friends about this?
So the weird thing for me was this movie, they have a line specifically talking about this happened months ago, and I'm just like, what? What are you? This feels like it took place in literally a single week. All of these look and feel like they took place within 7 days.
I did not even catch that.
Yes.
Is it on the stairwell? Because that's what I was going to say, is she does have, they don't show you the confession, or like, sorry, not confession, but like her confiding in her one friend.
Yes.
She finally does. You see post that.
Yes.
And there's like tear shed in. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, there's like a little bit of acting here that is done really well with the subject matter.
Yeah. There's no sense of time in this movie whatsoever.
This is months ago. I did not catch that. That's awesome.
I think she did do very well. As I said, I like Ed Begley Jr. Popping up. He's hamming it up.
Yeah.
He loves being a bad preacher. And it's always nice when Ernie Hudson pops up. So mine is just people having jobs.
There was another actor who was supposed to be in this movie and got cut out altogether.
Oh, I missed this completely. Who was this?
It was Jeremy London.
Oh my god, I did see him. So he was in the trailer. They had his name in the trailer.
Yeah, and he's not only in the trailer. He is in the starting credits.
Right.
He's in the credits at the start of the film.
No, wait, isn't he the private eye?
No. He's not.
Okay.
I looked into it after, like I said, I rewatched this movie. Yeah. Sadly, the name he was supposed to be the like guy that Lea Thompson was having the affair with.
Oh.
He played the other man, which we never met. He was only mentioned.
Yes, which also Jeremy London and Lea Thompson. Lea Thompson, you could do better than that. I know you're so horny, but
she was, yeah.
And she plays. I mean, she was also very horny in Back to the Future.
That's true.
They probably hired her because they're just like, we know she can do
it. She can nail this role.
Yeah,
yeah. She can retrieve cellular phone messages off a voicemail. She's gonna get this.
Yes. Do you have what's your bright spot?
Oh, man, I would have went with honestly the.
We can have the same.
Yeah, it would have been. It for sure would have been like seeing, and it wasn't a surprise for me because I watched the trailer beforehand, so I knew that Ernie Hudson was in it. Ed Begley Jr. I was just sad that it was so quick.
Yes.
But I mean, this movie wouldn't have been as terrible if.
Yeah, they could only afford them for the day.
Yes.
They got day rates. They needed to like. This feels like the kind of movie that they did because they needed their like SAG-AFTRA healthcare for the month.
Are we doing like low spots as well?
Yes, we can.
Because
I mean,
so I have a few. Yes, so it's one big low spot. Here's one that I had. This is back to like just a choice that I can't believe they made. So when she's scouting the guy's house, she's outside on this like he's got a big driveway like past a set of gates. She's at the gates like looking up. She's looking up at him. She can see like whatever. He's just about to go in the door and punch in his code. She pulls out binoculars. It cuts back to the same shot. Like it's. Why didn't you zoom in to, like, I don't make movies, and I'm like, okay, guys, the binocular shot needs to be a little bit closer than the last one.
Just like a little bit.
And, oh, man, and then they're doing we're talking about them, like, jumping back and forth character-wise. Throughout when her and her friend go to, like, look for proof of his name, they're all over the shop. Like, the one friend's like, she's like, oh, we got to get in and out. And then they, like, can't find anything, and she's like, oh, sits down on the couch and has like a break. It's like, what's happening here? You were just, and then we do find out it's still stupid. It's not an excuse, but they're high heels. She gets them stuck in the fireplace. Yeah, which it's like it didn't have to be a high heel shoe. You could have stepped on that and it cracked or whatever.
Yes, and that's how they discover his secret stash.
Yeah, it was by accident.
So it's just like, how does he get into it without high? Does he have high heels that he can then break
Yeah.
into it with.
And then so they're searching through the house. She goes to a drawer filled with like manila folders.
Yeah.
And they all have labels on them printed like, hey, car insurance, phone bill, blah blah blah. Someone should have told her to like not rifle as much, because there is nothing but blank pages in most of those folders. Like,
absolutely.
Oh, who was in charge of like set deck on this thing? It's like you can't print off a test page and put it in there, whatever.
Yeah.
Something with words.
So, just the same word over and over again.
Yes.
We will notice if they're literally
Blank.
nothing.
Yeah.
My low light would have to be the first 2 minutes. I think we've discussed that well enough. Not just the assault, but just the incoherence in which we are. Like, it's legitimately 15 minutes before we find out any characters' names. And, like, it's not by design. It's just that they're lazy.
They just edited it that way, and they were like, I don't know. We know their character's name, so what does it matter?
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Yeah, this is a bet. So we want to ask ourselves: Is this a hidden gem or deservedly forgotten?
Deservedly forgotten,
yes,
for sure.
Don't watch this.
No, it's so stupid.
It is very bad. Do you have any other notes you want to talk about this fucking movie?
There was a good moment when she's talking to the mom of the other victim.
Yes. Who was that actress?
Oh, yes, I do have it. It is Tess Harper. The only thing, like the one big one I remember from was she played Jesse's aunt in Breaking Bad.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I did remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And so she appears to be a crazy lady, right? Because she lost her daughter. No one in the community believed her.
Yeah.
Or her daughter. And my favorite, so when because she's reluctant at first to let this stranger in.
Yeah.
And then she's like talking to her through the door, and this guy who they didn't do like a guy walking by. There's just a man standing at the end of her driveway, and she's like, "Get out of here!" And he's like, "Ah." But it's like, sir, you're just looking at the weird neighbor. Like, what are you doing?
I just like how they're apparently like these. How is she the outcast? It's insane. And what town is this?
I have no idea. Also, and I keep looking at my notes to see more moments that I hated so much.
Oh, yeah.
So after the confiding in her friend on the steps that we said was like the one powerful scene,
yes,
it's almost immediately undone because her friend basically was like, "Hey, I kind of know what you're going through. My dad beat me, and I've never shown anyone this in my whole life."
Miss this.
Lifts up her shirt to reveal a set of scars along her side.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Rory, but when someone shows me a scar, I immediately touch said scars.
Yes. Yeah, I like to finger those scars.
Much like the character in the movie does.
Yeah, to show the audience that these scars are definitely real. These aren't the worst looking scars you've ever seen.
We didn't stop at the costume shop and buy the first pack of scars that was there.
They look like stretch marks.
It was so
bad.
Look like... And this is another one talking about the time passing and all this. There was a moment we were talking about her tossing and turning in her like son's bed or whatever. Yeah. And this is another. It's like, so she's tossing and turning. It's like black. She's in another position. It's black. In another position, it's black. In another position, it's the surface of the sun bright, like it is for the rest of the movie. Another one, it's like that. Another one, it's black again. How long did she lay in this bed for? Like, the time makes no sense.
Legitimately think they edited it out of order.
It was so bad. I think that's all I have to say about it, honestly.
Fatal Secrets. Don't do it. It's
no. Watch this podcast.
Watch this podcast instead.
Watch it twice before you watch this movie once.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
And watch it the second time and take notes. That's that's what you gotta do. Okay, so since we're coming to the end here, we now decide the next movie that we are going to do, and the way that works is, as I've explained, I give Josh 3 titles, and he chooses one of them based off that alone, and then I'll read the IMDb description of it. All right, so. Your 3 options are, sorry, just pulling it up here. Executor.
Okay.
executor,
Yeah.
before/during/after, and degenerate. Which are you going with?
They're all so descriptive. Executor, before, during, after,
Mm-hmm.
or degenerate.
Yes.
I'm kind of intrigued about before, during, after.
Okay. Before, during, after. This was released in 2020. It has 445 ratings on IMDb with a score of 5.2.
Okay.
This sharp-witted dramedy studies a middle-aged New York City theater actress suddenly forced to figure out the kind of person she wants to portray in life when her marriage... This is a long sentence. When her marriage comes to an end after she catches her husband cheating.
Oh my god.
That sounds boring as fuck.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The second you said dramedy, I was like, "Fuck sakes!"
But we're gonna watch it,
And not because I don't like that genre. I hate that word. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a bad word. It's not a word.
I'm not like if someone says rom-com, I can't handle that either.
Yes.
You know, it's one of those things.
But you can hear about before, during, after on our next episode. Thank you guys. If you guys are still watching, thank you guys so
we
much.
Appreciate it. Tell some friends about it. Word of mouth. That's a
Yeah,
good way to get.
Tell some friends, share this podcast. If you want to follow us, you can find us on all social media at Absolutelyobscurepod. We also have, if you want to reach out, we have Absolutelyobscurepod at podcast@gmail.com. You can reach us there. Thank you to Matt Prince for our theme music, and thank you to our producer Jordan for helping putting this together. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, rate and review.
All right. See you guys next time.